The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today we'll be speaking about Bil'am's legacy. Mashiach is coming. Of all the prophets in Tanakh, in Chumash, the one that speaks about Mashiach most clearly is Bil'am. And also it's amazing that in the entire Chumash, the only Navi that describes what happens to us in Olam Haba happens to be Bil'am. So in the Chumash, Bil'am HaRasha, looks like God has a sense of humor. He gives us the most beautiful blessings in the Chumash, even more than Yaakov and even more than Moshe. And he's the Navi that speaks clearly about the glorious future Am Yisrael has coming, Mashiach. And he's also the prophet that describes what happens to us in Olam Haba. Why would God pick such a lowlife to give us the most beautiful blessings? But before we get to that, if you look in Bamidbar 23, on the Pasuk Yonachash B'Yakov, there is no black magic. It's not on the paper, not up to the paper yet. We're not up to the paper yet. Bamidbar 23, on the Pasuk, there is no enchantment, no witchcraft in Yaakov. Rashi says, what does that mean? So Bil'am is saying that what happens to us in Olam Haba, Yoshvin Lefnei Hashem, in Olam Haba, we sit in front of God, V'lomdim Torah Pi Hashem, and we study Torah from the mouth of God. U'michitzas lefnim malachim. In Olam Haba, we even closer, we have a box seat. But before we get to Bil'am's legacy of Mashiach, it's amazing how the Parsha of the week always speaks to current events. It never fails. Current events, the education minister of Israel made a statement that the Jews in America are committing spiritual holocaust. 6 million Jews have been lost through intermarriage. That's what he said. Now it's amazing that this idea of a spiritual holocaust was given to Balak by whom? By Bil'am. Well, Bil'am told Balak, we cannot curse and destroy the Jewish people. But I can give you a way where the Jewish people can curse and destroy themselves. By marrying non-Jewish women. By marrying non-Jewish women into marriage, the Jewish people, chas v'sholom, would have been kaput. So that's Bil'am's plan. The Goyim cannot destroy the Jewish people, but God forbid through intermarriage, Bil'am said, the Jewish people are able to destroy themselves. Just let them marry non-Jewish women. Bil'am's eitzah to Balak. And this way the Jewish people, chas v'sholom, 6 million have disappeared spiritually. They say the number's even higher. But this is Bil'am's evil counsel. The Medrash Bamidbar Rabbah says that Bil'am was a Navi on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. Zisla, are you getting this? Bereshit Bamidbar Rabbah says that Bil'am was a Navi on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu.
So why was he a jerk?
So why was he such a lowlife? What happened to him? If he was on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, Bereshit Rabbah tells us, how could he be such a pervert? Zisel, current events, I couldn't make this up. There's an amazing Rashi, it's not on your paper, not on the paper yet, but there's an amazing Rashi in Bamidbar 24. Rashi's just amazing how Rashi is speaking to our time. What happened to Wild Bill? A Navi level of Moshe Rabbeinu, and yet he's such a pervert. How could it be? Says Rashi in Bamidbar 24. Mivnei ma hishvesh shem shchina al osay goy rasha. Why would God allow his holy shchina to rest on this wicked lowlife non-Jew? Kitei shlayomru umot, the nations should not say, ilu hoyelunu leviim, if we would have had Nevi'im like Moshe, Chazanu, Mutav, we would also be good. Fake news, but that's what they said. Hamid lahem Bil'am. So God set up for the nations Bil'am, Vehem partsu geder barayot. And they were porous together. How do you say it in English? They broke all the bounds of morality barayot. Noslam eight says not. They. Who's they? The people. The Rashi is saying something incredible. The people corrupt their leaders. Bil'am was a tzaddik, was a navi. But Haim parts together. An amazing Rashi by Midbar 24. The nations of the world made Bil'am break all the bounds of morality. They said to Bil'am, be PC or perish. That attitude, you have to be with it. Be PC or perish. Politically correct. Rashi's saying the leaders, the people corrupt their leaders. The people pressure their leaders to conform to the times. Rashi by Midbar 24. Amazing Rashi. The times, they are a-changing. Rabbi, don't be such an extremist. You want to keep your position? Get with it. Go with the flow, Rabbi. Rashi's saying Bil'am was affected by his evil congregation. Bil'am was like Moshe, but he was pressured. Rashi says, Haim parts together. The people pressured him to break all the bounds of morality. Go with the flow, Rabbi. Don't be such an extremist. Get with it. Don't you see the parallel today? Patrick Moynihan said, defining deficiency down. You don't remember Patrick Moynihan? He said, defining deviancy down. Slicha. Defining deviancy down. That's what's happening. It's kosher to be a pervert. It's legitimate. And the rabbis and the leaders are being pressured. And you see some rabbis, Nebuch, are saying that it's okay to be a pervert. That's Rashi saying, that's Bil'am. How could he become such a pervert? Haim parts together. It's the people that pressured him to go with the flow. Wow. To push their agenda where we are the extremists. The normal people, like the education minister of Israel, when he speaks the truth, they call him an extremist.
Instead of supporting him.
It's crazy. It's an upside down crazy world. But Rashi gives us the key. Haim parts together. It's the people that forced Bil'am to become a pervert. Be politically correct or perish.
But if he...
You hear what Rashi's saying? Now we speak about Bil'am Harasha. We never say Balak Harasha. How come the Talmud says Bil'am Harasha? What about Balak? Balak was not a Rasha?
Yeah, he was.
So why don't we call him Balak a Rasha?
No, because Bil'am is the one who gave...
But Balak is the one that sent to get Bil'am. So why is he not called Rasha? So the Talmud says Balak did it because of Pachad. He was afraid the Jewish people were out to destroy him. He felt threatened and he panicked. Bil'am was pure hatred. Bil'am wasn't threatened by us. Balak felt threatened because they wiped out his allies, the king of Amori. They wiped out Sichon and Og. So he figured Balak that he's next. So he felt threatened. So therefore he had to defend himself. But Bil'am was pure sinah, pure hatred. And therefore he's called Bil'am Arasha, but not Balak. Balak acted out of fear. Misplaced fear, but still fear. So let's take a look at our source sheets now and see Bil'am's legacy. Of all the prophets in the Chumash, it's Bil'am that speaks the most clearly about what? Mashiach. Mashiach. You take a look at the source sheet. This is the Rambam, Halacha Aleph. This is the Hilchas Malachim. You see that? Perik Achad Asar, Halacha Aleph. Here the Rambam describes in the Laws of Kings how the Rambam closes his book of the Mishnah Torah. See that? Halacha Aleph, you have it, Chava? HaMelech HaMoshiach Atid Lamod L'Hachzir Malchus David Liyoshna. King Messiah is destined to what? To bring back the good old days. To bring back Malchus Beis David the way it was. The Mshala Rishona Ubona HaMikdash, and Mashiach will what? Rebuild the temple. Umekabes Nitche Yisrael, and he will what? Gather all the Jews that are dispersed, even from Lakewood. V'choizvin kol ha-mishpatim b'yom ha-kodim. And he will bring back, more than half of the 613 Chava we cannot do. More than half of the 613 mitzvahs we cannot do because it depends on the Beis HaMikdash. So Mashiach, when he builds the temple, will be able to do all the mitzvahs they were meant to. That's why we want Mashiach now. For the last 2,000 years, we've been, David, spiritually crippled or handicapped because half of the 613
we haven't been able to do.
Not able to do. Depends on the Beis HaMikdash. So Rambam says Mashiach has to build it. We can't build it ourselves. He will build a temple. Boneh HaMikdash. Makrivin Karbonot. Listen to this. Some people will be turned off by this. The animal rights people will be turned off. See it, Leah? Makrivin Karbonot. We're going to bring back what? The sacrificial system. Chava, you getting this? Voice Shmita v'yovel, kol mitzvah b'Torah. Now this is a very difficult Rambam. The Rambam says here, Yehuda, clearly that we're going to reinstitute animal sacrifice again.
And the Shemitah.
And Shemitah. But let's focus on Makrivin Karbonot. Let's focus on that. In the Guide to Perplex, the Rambam says that Karbonot was only a concession to human weakness. To wean us off Avodah Zarah, says Rambam. Does God need burning animals? Mikimia, good to see you back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Where you belong. Banish, does God need burning animals? So the Rambam Or Nevuchim says no. But the Jewish people were used to sacrificing to Avodah Zarah. So God says, well, instead of sacrifice to Avodah Zarah, do me a favor and what? Sacrifice to God. So it's a concession to human weakness to wean us off of Avodah Zarah. That's why God commanded Karbonot. That's what Rambam says in Or Nevuchim. You don't see a contradiction? When Mashiach comes, will we still be sacrificing to Avodah Zarah?
Yes, I guess so.
No. When Mashiach comes, there's no more Avodah Zarah. So why does the Rambam say that Mashiach will reinstitute the sacrificial system? If the whole reason that God commands the sacrificial system is to wean us off of Avodah Zarah, like he says in Or Nevuchim, when Mashiach comes, who's burning animals to Avodah Zarah these days? You know anybody?
No.
So why does the Rambam say we're going to reinstitute the Karbonot? It seems to contradict what he says in Or Nevuchim. He just says not just Korban Pesach, the entire sacrificial system will be reinstituted. But if it's only to wean us off of Avodah Zarah, who worships Avodah Zarah today? Who burns animals to Getchkis? So why will Mashiach need to what? Reinstitute the Karbonot? Get a question? Yuda.
Yes,
So to answer this question, we will what?
Ask another question.
The Rambam makes a very bizarre statement in what? In Or Nevuchim. Ketoret, which the Talmud says is the highest, purest service of all the service in the temple, the holiest is Ketoret. How do you say Ketoret in English? Incense. Says Rambam, you're sitting down, David? Ziful, fasten seatbelts. Why did God command Ketoret? So the Rambam says in Exodus 30 calls Ketoret Kodesh Kodashim. Yehuda, this is one for Ilana. Exodus 30 calls the Ketoret incense Kodesh Kodashim. Yet the Rambam says, you know why God commanded incense in the temple? You're sitting down? He says the temple was a vast slaughterhouse. You ever walk into a slaughterhouse with all the blood and guts? He says that the Ketoret was an air freshener, a disinfectant to cover up the smell of the blood and guts. Hello, Rambam. Now, he took a lot of flack for saying that. Oh, did he? That's why the Or Nevuchim was banned. Exodus 30 calls Ketoret Kodesh Kadoshim. And the Rambam says it's an air freshener, a disinfectant like Lysol. Psst, psst, psst. Rambam, take a pill and lie down. Chava, you getting this? The Or Nevuchim was banned. What's the key over here? Or Nevuchim. What does that mean? A guide for the perplexed. He's writing for a target audience. We have to remember, Zisel, there's his legal code and there's Guide for the Perplexed. This book that he wrote was for people that were perplexed and they needed explanations for mitzvot that didn't make sense to them. So he says the Ketoret, it's not the only reason it was a disinfectant, but it did serve as a what? As an air freshener. It served that, but that's not the only reason. In the Guide to Perplexed, he said it's a concession to human weakness, but that's not the only reason. The reason is because Hashem commanded it. It's God's wisdom. So in his legal code, he says we're going to have karbonos again and ketores again, because ultimately it's God's wisdom. In the Moreh Nevuchim layer, he's writing for a target audience, those people that need rationalizations. So he's saying, well, it's also a reason. It does smell very nice. The ketores, the incense, does cover up the smell of blood and guts. But that's not the only reason. So we have to understand the Moreh Nevuchim was written for a target audience, people that had problems, they couldn't figure out the mitzvot, they were disturbed. But his legal code, he's writing for all Jews, not only those that are perplexed. So in Hebrew, a reason is a tam. What does a tam mean?
Taste.
It's a taste. It's a taste. The real reason is because he said so. But I'll take the taste as well. So this is how we want to defend the Rambam, that when he says the Ketores is a disinfectant air freshener, that's a reason, but it's not the reason. And when he says karbonos are a concession to human weakness, to wean us off of Avodah Zarah, it's a reason, but not the reason. The reason is God's wisdom. Only He knows, and therefore when Mashiach comes, we're going to reinstitute karbonos again. So let's get back to the Rambam in Halacha Aleph. V'chol mi she'eino ma'amin bo, anyone who does not believe in the Mashiach, or mi she'eino mechake, achake lo b'chol yom sheyavoi. It's not enough to believe in him, Yosef. You have to also what? Anticipate. Loi b'shavini v'varkof v'torah Moshe. If you don't believe or anticipate Mashiach's coming, you just don't deny the prophets, you deny the Torah itself. The Torah prophesies about Mashiach. Did you know that? Where?
This section.
Shenema before. Vishav Hashem lakecha shivuscha. God will bring back your captivity. Rachmecha vishav dikibetzcha. And God will come back with you. So according to the Rambam, the Messianic redemption is beginning now with the Jews coming back to what? Eretz Yisrael. When the Jews come back to Eretz Yisrael, says Rambam, this is a clear sign. In Hebrew you say Aschalta de Gula. How do you say it in English? Aschalta de Gula. The beginning of the redemption. Ve'elat Dvorim Afaris B'Torah. Says Rambam on top of the page, left column. Heim kolalim kolat Dvorim shenem yedei neviim. Va'af Chava af b'Parshas Bil'am. Now we get to see that. The top line on the left column, second line, af b'Parshat Bil'am. Nema. See that? Bil'am speaks about Mashiach. V'sham niba b'shnei HaMashiachim. Here he's speaking about what? Two Messiahs. Ain't one enough? Who said once is not enough? Leah. He says here, Bil'am speaks about two Mashiachs. David, Mashiach HaRishon, who was the first Messiah? David. What does Mashiach mean? Anointed. Olive oil shampoo. Right? Not Head and Shoulders. It's an olive oil shampoo, Mashiach. So the first Mashiach was what? David. He's the one that saved Israel from there. Interesting, he doesn't mention Shaul. Shaul also had a shampoo. Shaul had a shampoo too. He's called Mashiach Hashem by Samuel. Yet the Rambam ignores him and cuts right to David. Interesting. In Samuel, Shaul is called Mashiach too, because he also got an olive oil shampoo. Okay? But anyway, he cuts to Mashiach Rishon, he calls David HaMelech. Mashiach Achron, who's the last Messiah? Omed Bibanov. Now, Beinish mentioned Mashiach. Where's Beinish?
Over here.
He mentioned Mashiach ben Yosef, right? Beinish hit a home run. Nowhere in the Rambam's legal code does he mention Mashiach ben Yosef. Nowhere. Nowhere in the Rambam's legal code does he mention Mashiach ben Yosef. He only mentions David and Ben David. He doesn't mention Mashiach ben Yosef at all. What's going on, Shalom? What's going on? Rabbi Rapam asked this question. So if the Rambam doesn't mention Mashiach ben Yosef in the legal code, that means you don't have to believe in him. The silence is deafening. He makes it an imam emunah shalema to believe in the coming of Mashiach ben David, but he totally ignores Mashiach ben Yosef. Why? I'm glad you asked, Chava. Rabbi Rapam gave a mushal. Remember the mushal that he gave. When you go to a banquet, beautiful hall, a banquet, before they bring in the delicious catering and the food and the banquet, first you have to have a cleanup crew. Don't you need a cleanup crew, Beinish? To clean up the hall before you can bring in the delicious what? Dishes. He says, Mashiach ben Yosef, that's the cleanup crew. He's going to clean up the mess to make ready for the banquet of Mashiach ben David. But he says the Rambam is an optimist. He says we don't need the cleanup crew. We'll clean up the mess ourselves. Rav Pam said this, Shalom. Therefore he doesn't mention one word about Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Yosef is the cleanup crew. And the banquet of Mashiach ben David, so the Rambam is an optimist. We'll clean up our own mess. Thank you very much. Mashiach ben David. Okay, so here let's get back. Wild Bil'am speaks about two Mashiachs. Nothing about Ben Yosef. It's David, the first Mashiach. The Mashiach Achron. Who's Mashiach Achron, Chava? Mibnei Banav, a great descendant of whom?
Rabbi.
Shemoshiach Yisrael B'Achrona. He will save Israel in the end of time. Hu Shenema. This is what Wild Bill said. Ereno v'loyata. I see him, but not now. Zeh David. This is David HaMelech. Ashirena v'loy karov. I behold him, but he's not close. 3,300 years ago, when Bil'am said it, he wasn't close. But now he is close. Now he's close. So who's Ashirena v'loy karov? Zeh Melech HaMashiach. You see that? Dorach Kochav miYaakov. A star will step out of Yaakov. That's why the Jews invented Hollywood. We're all stars. Dorach Kochav miYaakov. A star will come out of Yaakov. Zeh David. Become Shevet b'Yisrael. Zeh Melech HaMashiach. Of all the Nevi'im in the Chumash, the Navi that speaks clearest about Mashiach is Wild Bil'am. You see that God has a sense of humor, don't you? Now, we know that the rabbis of the Talmud Chava can argue. Can Nevi'im argue? Nevi'im cannot argue. We have a problem. Daniel, the Navi Daniel in his book says Mashiach will come riding on clouds, supernaturally. Zechariah says, Oni Rachel Lechamor. Mashiach will come. Doesn't mean live on a donkey, means he will come derech hateva. So it looks like the machlokas layer between what? Daniel and what? Zechariah. Nevi'im cannot argue. Rabbis and Talmud can argue, but the Nevi'im can't argue. So the Archaim HaKadosh asks, who is right? Is Daniel right that Mashiach will come supernaturally? Or is Zechariah right that Mashiach will come derech hateva? Yes. Yes. They're both right. And Wild Bill already said it. Dorach means derech hateva. That's Zechariah. Kochav, that's Daniel riding on the superstar. If the Jews do tshuva, he'll come Kochav, like Daniel says, riding on clouds supernaturally like a shooting star. If we don't do tshuva chas v'sholem, he'll still come, but he'll come Dorach. What does Dorach mean? Derech hateva. Derech hateva. So Wild Bill Bil'am anticipated Zechariah and Daniel. It's not a contradiction. Mashiach will come, what?
Many years before.
But a Navi looks into the future, past, present, and future is the same for a Navi. Isn't that amazing that Wild Bill got it all covered? Is Daniel right or is Zechariah right? Yes. Dorach Kochav Mayakov. You have the paper in front of you. Mashiach will come either derech hateva or he'll come Kochav. What does Kochav mean? Like a superstar, supernaturally. It says Archaim HaKadosh, if we do tshuva, he'll come like Daniel says, supernaturally Kochav. If we don't do tshuva chas v'sholem, he'll still come, but he'll come like Zechariah says, Dorach derech hateva. He'll run for the Knesset, he'll make speeches, he'll get elected, head of a party, Mashiach party. So Mashiach will come. How he comes is up. We make the call. Remember that?
Bil'am. If Bil'am
Yes.
did not commit a sin, what he did with the Moabite women,
Of course he committed a
If
sin.
he
He
didn't-
became corrupted by the
No,
people.
if
That's
he
what
did-
Rashi's saying.
If he did not do that, would he have been? Would he have gone to Gan Eden?
He could have been, the Medrash Rabbah says, you have the paper in front of you, I don't know if you do, that he was on a level of Moshe Rabbeinu. But Rashi points out that the people corrupted him. He was pressured by his congregation. Rabbi, get with it. You can't be such a fuddy-duddy. You can't be such an extremist. You got to be a pervert. You got to go with the flow. Kosher sex. There's a kosher sex store in Tel Aviv now. Kosher sex shop. Are you getting this? An Orthodox rabbi's daughter opened up a kosher sex shop. I mean, you got to go with the flow. You can't be a fuddy-duddy. You got to get with it, man. If you're not PC, you will perish. So Rashi says Wild Bill was corrupted by his congregation. The pressure,
But
right?
He wasn't Jewish, Bil'am.
So what? But he was a righteous Gentile. He was, but then he became such a Rasha. Haim Parzu Geder. They forced him to be Paritz Geder Barayot.
Did he have a share in Olam Haba?
He lost. The Mishnah says in Sanhedrin that he lost the share in Olam Haba. Bil'am lost the share in Olam Haba. See, it says Dorach Kochav Miyakov Zeh David. To come Shevet Mi Yisrael Zeh. A ruler will rise in Israel. Who is that? Chava. Melech HaMashiach. You'd have that. Zeh Melech HaMashiach. Umechatz Pasei Moab Zeh David. Chenoime V'yachas Moab. The Karkar Kol B'nei Sheis. And Mashiach will rule all the children of mankind. Zeh Melech HaMashiach. Why the children of mankind called B'nei Sheis? Why are we called the children of Sheis, not the children of Noach, or the children of Adam, or Cain? Sheis was Adam's third son.
The one with
Why is mankind called the children of Sheis? So Rashi explains in Parshas Bil'am, because Hevel got killed, left no kids. All of Cain's kids got washed out with the flood. Who does Noach come from? Sheis. Noach is the new Adam, but he is a descendant of what? Sheis. So all mankind is called the children of Sheis. Sheis in Hebrew means foundation. Even Shetiyah, the foundation stone. So Bil'am is saying that the Melech HaMashiach will rule not just over the Jewish people, he will rule what? Kol B'nei Sheis, all the children of mankind. Melech HaMashiach. There'll be a world government. Mashiach will rule not just Israel, but what? The whole world. Who said so? Wild Bill. Wild Bill Bil'am. Isn't that amazing? So this is a raya that what? That Mashiach has to come. He hasn't come yet. Okay? And the Rambam brings another strange raya that Mashiach has to come. See halacha bet? Yehuda, halacha bet?
The second left column.
Yeah. Af bi'ore miklat. The Rambam brings another proof that Mashiach has to come, and he has not come yet, from the city of refuge, which is very strange. See halacha bet leah, af bi'ore miklat? It says, Im yarchev Hashem lechechos gevulcha. When God, the word im can mean if, but the word im can also mean what, Bil'am? When. Rashi says the word im has a few different meanings, if or when. Here it means when. When God will widen your borders, and you'll have to add another 3 cities of refuge. How many cities of refuge are there? There are 6 primary, right? 6 primary. Altogether, there are how many? 48. 42 and 6. But there's 6 primary. When Mashiach comes, when they get to the 6 primary, another 3 cities.
I hope they'll have a better entrance.
And we never got another 3 cities of our Miklat. And the Torah promises that there'll come a time when we'll have such wide borders that we'll need another 3 cities of refuge. And it never happened yet. So we see that what? That Mashiach has to come, and didn't happen yet. But I'm all confused, Chava. When Mashiach comes, won't there be utopia? And here the Rambam says, when Mashiach comes, we're going to need another 3 cities of refuge. Who's the city of refuge? That's for murderers.
Accidental murder.
But I thought when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a utopia. And here the Rambam says we're going to need more city of refuge for murderers. Make any sense to you?
No.
But that's what the Rambam says. Help! Look at footnote Yud Gimel, Yehuda. See the bottom of the page? I think you have a footnote Yud Gimel. Teishar Miklat. Right?
Well, at the very bottom.
The very bottom, Yud Gimel. So now we have 6. Sholosh on one side of the Eva Yad and Shol the other. And when Mashiach comes, the Torah says, I will add on to you what? Another 3 cities. And we never had it yet. So the Rambam is saying that when Mashiach comes, there are going to be more murderers. You need more city of refuge. Help! So to answer this question, we have to ask another. The Gemara Sanhedrin says, one of the great sages of the Talmud, his name is Rabbi Yosef, said, let Mashiach come, but I don't want to be around when it comes. Hey, great Rabbi Yosef, your namesake, he said, hello, let him come, but I don't want to be around to see him. Lillian, it's not strange? So the Talmud is telling us that when Mashiach comes, it's going to be a wild time. The utopia will follow later, but it'll be very chaotic. Not a lot of people's not going to accept him. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of violence until he smooths over all the rough edges. Will Hezbollah accept him? And Hamas, right? It's not going to be easy. So the great rabbi said, let him come, but I don't want to be around to see him. It's going to be great upheavals. There'll be a time of violence. Then, when he clears up them, when he gets rid of the enemies, it'll be utopia. But until then, fasten your seatbelts and hang in there, because it's going to be a rough ride, right? Remember the Rough Riders? Teddy Roosevelt? You'll see.
Not now?
No. Maybe it's now. You saw the violence that's happening in Gaza every Friday.
Yeah.
And the IDF just stands by and what? So hopefully this is the Chevle Leida of Mashiach. How do you say Chevle Leida? The birth pangs of Mashiach. The birth pangs of Mashiach, right? Before a woman gives birth, right, she has birth pangs. So if the birth pangs increase, you know that what, David? The baby's on the way, right? The baby's on the way. So we have to learn from Bil'am. Don't allow yourself to be pressured by society. Bil'am was a Navi like Moshe Rabbeinu. Look what happened to him, Yosef. He was a Navi, and he became corrupted, Rashi says, through the influence of his society. He wanted to fit in. He didn't want to be called an extremist, an old fuddy-duddy, old-fashioned. So he went along with them. In this week's Parsha, again, getting back, it's amazing. current events. Education Minister Rafi Peretz got up and said there's a spiritual holocaust happening in America, so the intermarriage.
That's right.
Right? And they shouted him down. But in this week's Parsha, it's Bil'am's idea that the Jews should marry non-Jewish women. And this is the way the Jewish people, Bil'am said, we cannot destroy the Jews, but they can destroy themselves, chas v'sholem. Let them marry the Moabite and Midianite women, and that's it. And what was Moshe's reaction and the leaders of the Jewish people? Bochim. What does bochim mean? They're crying. So Peretz says, I'm crying. I'm not going to be quiet. I have to cry out. Make a machor. He said, a protest. Moshe and the Adas Yisrael, read the last pasuk in the Parsha. Bochim. You never find Moshe Rabbeinu crying. You never find Moshe crying. He's crying. And why does the Torah write it? That we have to cry. When we see this terrible intermarriage going on in America, terrible, 72%, David, you can Google it, 72% of American Jews intermarry. That's Bil'am's scheme.
Especially when it's one of your own.
And we have to cry, Bochim. So he gets up, the prime minister, the education minister, and he cries out, and they, shh, shh, shh. We don't want to hear it. They shout him down. He's being pressured, like Bil'am was, like other people, unfortunately, so-called leaders, right? They have to be PC, otherwise they lose their position. But the lesson is that we should not be PC, even though they call us extremists. We're not the extremists.
They are.
It's the perverts that are extremists. But it's mamish oilam hafuch ra'iti. It's upside down. Ever drink a cafe hafuch? Yosef. You ever drink a cafe hafuch? This oilam hafuch. Eitz hadas toiv ra. Mamash. Toiv they call ra. And Ra they call what? Toiv. That's the intermingling. That's the Yetzer Hara. Not enough to be a pervert. You have to say that's the way to go. It's good to be a pervert. To be normal is to be an old fuddy-duddy. They come to the schools and they brainwash the kids. You should have 2 mommies or 2 daddies. I'm not making this up. They come to schools, elementary schools. And they tell them, you have a father and a mother? You're old-fashioned. 2 mommies, 2 daddies. That's the wave of the future. Are you getting this? Brainwashing school children. That's the Bil'am syndrome. Because the guidance counselor doesn't want to lose his job. Doesn't want to lose his position of influence and position. So he brings these perverts to indoctrinate school children. Yosef, it's incredible. And he wants to stop it, Peretz, the education minister, and they want to fire him now. I want to ask you a question. God told Moshe the Jews are worshiping the golden calf. Did Moshe go ballistic?
No.
He took it very calmly.
And he went
You don't
down
believe
there.
God? When he saw the Jews worshiping the calf, he broke the tablets. Didn't he believe God? Why, when he saw them worshiping, he went ballistic? So the Meforshim explained, when God told them to worship the calf, God didn't tell them what mood they were in. They worshiped the calf, never, the spirit is willing, but what? Flesh is weak. But when he saw the dancing and the joy, then he lost it.
Then he lost it.
Worse than the sin is to what? To be proud of it. To flaunt it. Everybody sins. At least if you have shame, there's hope for you. You'll do tshuva. But if you're flaunting your perversion, you're proud of your perversion, there's no hope for you. You're not doing anything wrong. They took away the stigma of guilt. Now to be a pervert is kosher. That's worse than the sin because the person will never do tshuva. But the Torah says, Bochim, at least cry about it. Later, the last pasuk of the parsha, Kawinky Dinky, current events, Bochim, at least cry and protest. At least we can do that.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.